There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
When criminals in this world appear and break the laws that they should fear and frighten all who see or hear, the cry goes up both far and near for underdog, 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 speed.
At the request of one Ellen Dinkenson, the theme song from Underdog to begin our program. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with you on a Tuesday night. Glad to be representing EOG. The three letters stand for Ion Gaming. EOG.com, a website dedicated to the hearts and minds of sports bettors everywhere. Dink in studio with me tonight, as he is most every Tuesday night. We're glad to have him contributing to the program. And you'll hear a third voice on tonight's program, the voice of 55-year-old Ion Gaming contributor Bushay. He's from the greater Detroit area. He has a glorious past. We'll talk to him about the Detroit sports landscape. We'll talk about his job. He's 55, but retired, living the good life, doing what he wants to do. And isn't that the goal of everyone? I like what Bushay contributes
running
to
hockey
EOG.
pools for EOG. I think that is what he wants to do.
That's
cool.
Yeah, it is. He'll be our contest coordinator for an NHL contest that we'll tell you all about later in the program. He'll also have some thoughts on the upcoming NHL season. He follows it closely. We'll ask him for some overrated teams, some underrated teams, maybe a sleeper team, and the team to win it all. Dink, you don't like those type of questions, though. Before the season starts, you don't want to get too married to
all
opinions.
of all the sports that can apply is hockey, because you'll change your mind in every month. The Kings were never in that many people's considerations. The first time they won, and last time they had a lot of tough teams to go through. They got lucky; they drew the Rangers instead of the Bruins, but they were down 3-0 in the first series. They were about $1 million, a legitimate hub, or 100-1 to win the Stanley Cup at that time. It's a tough sport. Injuries play such a big part.
I can see future book odds being a head scratcher. What about the regular season point
I
totals?
actually played 3 teams to win it all, but they're small bets at humongous odds.
Mm-hmm. And what are those 3 teams, if I may ask?
Let's wait till Bushay joins us so we can have a little debate about it.
We'll do that. What about
Let's see if he can guess. I made 3 teams at more than 20-1.
Okay, we'll ask Bushay when he joins us here. What about regular season point totals? I saw Cantor Gaming had odds up on each of the teams.
They changed some to win totals and some to point totals. And I read a blog, and I don't remember whose it was, but it said that the way they had the point totals, they were far too low, and you can bet it was Dauber from Dauber Hockey. You can bet every team over and probably have positive equity and just eliminate the ones you don't like.
You think Cantor Gaming was asleep at the switch?
I don't know which one they did. I don't know if they have points or wins. Wins
they
is a
do
whole
have
different
points.
story.
CG Technology has points.
Then I don't know if they were first or they were asleep at the switch.
When Bushay joins us, we'll talk about
points are very hard because some games are worth 3 points instead of 2, and it's kind of randomly determined.
Interesting. So
if you get into a lot of overtimes, you're probably going to accumulate, unless you're the Devils, you're probably going to accumulate some more points.
Plenty of hockey talk on tonight's show. If you enjoy the NHL, sit back and listen in for the next 60 minutes. The lead story tonight, Major League Baseball, the 2014 MLB postseason, with an exciting start, and talk about thrilling theater. Final in 12 innings from Kauffman Stadium, the Royals beat the A's 9-8. Dink, it was a dramatic win for Kansas City, a team that trailed Oakland 7-3 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Royals score 3 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, tie the game at 7. Oakland scores a run in the 12th. Callaspo, the RBI single, and KC rallies with 2 in the bottom of the 12th to win it in dramatic fashion. 9-8, what a ball game.
Probably bad news for the Angels in the sense that the A's had lost 2 starting players during the game. Also, Kansas City's like a cute running team with try to beat you with speed and fielding, and it's a little different than the A's, who just hit a big slump after the All-Star break and had one of the worst records in baseball, and they would have lost their catcher and their leadoff hitter, and that I think the Angels would have had a pretty easy series. I think the Angels are still going to have a pretty easy series, but it would have been a lot easier against Oakland.
What a game tonight. It was Oakland's power against Kansas City's speed. And boy, the Royals have some burners on the base paths. And that injury you talked about, 2 injuries, one to Crisp, the other to Soto. Soto replaced by Norris in the 3rd inning. So Oakland, they didn't have their guy that they wanted in to counterattack Kansas City's running game. Salvador Perez is the catcher for the Kansas City Royals. How about Perez's line? 0 for 5 on the night until he comes up in the 12th inning, redeems himself for a poor at-bat in the bottom of the 9th inning when he struck out man on a third and less than 2 outs. Normally you play baseball in that spot, you score a run. Salvador Perez with the swing and a miss 3 times.
3 pitches way out of the strike zone that he couldn't hit.
And he comes through with the RBI single to win it. Baseball's a funny game.
It's a cool game. It really is. I know Caroline, who's listening, hates baseball. She doesn't quite get it, but, if you watch this game, I think your juices would have flowed even if you weren't a baseball fan.
Does she like cricket?
I don't think so. I don't know. She likes hockey, and she'll watch hockey. I think she appreciates the live aspect of hockey.
It is an exciting game, the sport of hockey. We'll talk all about hockey on tonight's show.
Best game in the world. Coolest game on ice.
I'm a basketball junkie, so basketball would be my vote, although I appreciate all sports. One thing I do is I can appreciate the love of sport, where somebody says, I love soccer. Our friend Eric Biggio, it's called Mr. Met at Ion Gaming. He loves soccer. Kevin Stott, he loves soccer, and I understand the game, and I understand the love of the game, although I don't understand all the nuances of the game. Baseball, what a great sport, a thinking man sport thing. That's what I like about the game. You can really...
It's the sport that produces the most numbers that you can crunch and analyze and, view them in any which way you want, because 2 people will view a lot of numbers completely opposite. So, and there's, a lot of kids rising to the occasion, too, in these games. Making key outs or getting key hits. Even the no-hitter on Sunday ended with an unbelievable catch. It's just there's always something in baseball that you almost never have seen before if you're a somewhat casual fan and not going to every game or watching every game. Every game has something weird, even if it's a foul ball that lands in a cup or something. There's always something like, ooh, that was pretty cool.
A Palm Tree crunches numbers. He was on last night's show. Boy, did he provide an excellent analysis of the upcoming games. He and Mike Corrigan went back and forth. They both suffered a tough loss here. The Royals beat the A's 9-8 and 12. Boy, when the Oakland A's were up 7-3 over Kansas City, you would think KC would not have much of a chance from there, but instead the light-hitting Royals rally for 3 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, and then win it in 12, 9-8. We hope to recruit both Palm Tree and Mike Corrigan to the program next week on the show. And we've got a busy week here on the EOG Sports Hour. Paulie Mack and Shawnee Mack, the Mack Attack, return Wednesday night. We'll also have Ed the Stat Man this week, chat with Railbird later in the week. But tonight's featured guest comes to us from the greater Detroit area. I've had a chance to chat with Bushay in the last month or so. I feel like I know more than I do. We've never met, but through the forums at EOG.com, in the main forum, Bushay's personality comes shining through. Bushay, good evening, and welcome to the show.
John, thank you for the invite. I appreciate it, and welcome right back to you, and hello to Dink.
Hey, Bush, how are you?
I'm good.
Cool. Not the voice I expected. That's a different voice. You have to change. You changed your voice on me.
Bushay,
there's a lot of enthusiasm. I think I'm suppressed on in the forum sometimes, but I try to be as
you're hockey. You're
characteristic as ever.
you're an interesting forum read. Sometimes you get into some crazy battles.
I like the battles. I must like it because I keep going back to it. So I got an opinion, and if your opinion's better than mine, let's talk about it. Let's hash it out. If I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong.
Bushay, I mentioned
I followed the game very close for a long time, and I got a lot of opinions, and I love it.
I mentioned you're a young retiree, 55, and living the good life. How did you make your money, Bushay?
I was a bread man in the city of Detroit. I started in 1980 or 79. I worked inside the bakery for about 10 years, learned how to bake bread. And then about 11 years in, I went into the sales department for 24 years and finished out my career as a delivering bread, slinging bread into the stores in the city of Detroit, and then eventually at the end in the suburbs. But I spent a lot of time in the Detroit neighborhood, the Detroit city. I know it like the back of my hand. And you're coming to Detroit. You know, you'd be wise to ask me if you're lost, because I can get you out of the hole.
How is the city of Detroit doing these days, Bushay? We've read accounts where Detroit was bankrupt. Is the city bouncing back?
The city is bouncing back. It's bouncing back in a big way. The business in the I think they call it the CBD, the Central Business District of Detroit, is just booming. The real estate is off the charts. The office spaces are all being bought up. All the dead property in the downtown area has all been bought up and renovated. It's a young, hip crowd down there now. It's you know, but you still got the neighborhoods, and that'll probably always be a problem. But you know, we got a good mayor in there now, who's really turned things around. I think the bankruptcy got completed today. I think I heard the last creditor was going to agree and wrap it up. And, you know, from here on forward, should be good times in Detroit again, you know, especially since our teams are all doing well right now, too.
We'll ask you about the sports landscape in Detroit. One last question about the city's health. I was there in Detroit about a year ago in the downtown area, 3 lively casinos. MGM has one. One's called Greektown, and third is Motor City Casino. You told me some interesting tidbits about the Motor City Casino and what it was before it was a casino.
Yeah, it was a Wonder Bread factory, one of the oldest ones, right off there. It's the Lodge Freeway. I mean, anytime you drove by there, growing up as a kid, you couldn't get but a nose full of the smell of fresh bread going by. But I think it's been I'm not sure, but I think it's been 10 or 15 years since they closed up shop, and the Motor City Casino bought them, renovated the whole area, and seem to be doing real well. You know, there's the Greektown, and there's MGM Grand. They're all probably within a 3 or 4 mile radius. And then, if you want, you can go over the border to Windsor, and the Windsor Casino is I mean, it's almost the same amount of time to get from one casino to Windsor. I mean, it's just right over the border. So, and that's where I go sometimes to bet hockey legally. They got a sports book with terrible odds that you just have, you know, parlay cards the last time I was there. But
why would you
my
go
wife
then?
used to go to Windsor and play.
Oh,
my
no,
wife used
that's
to go to
fine.
Windsor and play bingo, and she would drop me off at the sports book, and I'd bet the games all night. And then when she was done at the bingo hall, she'd come by and pick me up, and we'd head back home. It was our night out.
I love the downtown area, Bushay. When I was in Detroit, they're right near Comerica Park and Ford Field, 2 beautiful facilities right next door.
Absolutely, and a third one is on its way. I think they just broke ground this week on a $450 million hockey and entertainment center right across from Comerica, which is right next to Ford Field. And he's building a whole entertainment complex in there, restaurants and housing. And this Illich is just a real good guy for the community, and he's doing good things.
You're listening to
It's only going to get better. Go ahead.
You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly and Alan Dinkenson, EOG contributor Bushay, our featured guest tonight. He's going to help us run a hockey contest at EOG.com, and the main form will tell you all about that later in the program. Bushay, the 4 major sports teams in the Detroit area, rank them, if you would, in terms of interest level.
Well, I got to say the Tigers have the most interest. They've been winning for the longest period of time. You know, if you're a Detroiter, I mean, you're a Tiger fan. But also the Lions are a strong team here, but we've never had a winner. So it's kind of like, if we ever get one, the town's just going to go nutty. You know, especially now when things are looking a little better. But really, the Red Wings are my favorite. The Red Wings sell out every game. They have for a long, long time. They've been in the playoffs for, I think it's 23 straight years. And I was an old season ticket holder at the old Olympia and then transferred over to the Joe Louis Arena. But I don't go to the games like I used to.
Why not?
They're a little too expensive for my pocket.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And where do the Pistons rank?
I would think fourth.
The Pistons moved out to Auburn Hills years ago, and the Pistons are down right now. But there's a huge following, of course, of Detroit basketball, and in Michigan, where all our sports are well represented here.
Yeah, that's a long time from the Bad Boys era in Detroit. What about the University of Michigan? The problems there. What are they saying in Detroit about Brady Hoke?
Yeah, I haven't dug into that story too deep, but it sounds like the AD, they want the people on campus, and they want him gone. They think he messed up. Michigan doesn't want to be known as a second-rate university like that, and they have higher standards than what he did. So I don't know what's going to happen to him, but they want them both out of there.
I had a losing weekend, but a winning bet with Minnesota plus 13.5 over Michigan last Saturday. A little birdie whispered in my ear when to bet that game.
Rail bird?
No, not that birdie.
No. What birdie?
A birdie who's sitting here in studio.
Lawrence, the engineer.
Not the engineer. It's good to know people in high places. How did you know, Dink, that money was going to show late in the marketplace for Minnesota? Minnesota driven down to 10 in some, or Michigan was driven down to as a 10-point favorite. It was as high as 13.5, down to 10 close to game time. You told me that money would show on Mini.
I did. It's good to know people in high places.
That's all you'll say.
Yeah. Sometimes I know.
Here's something I found interesting.
And sometimes what I know is what I think I know turns out to be inaccurate, but not that often.
I like to follow Chris. I think in terms of smart money, a lot of smart money bet at Chris. They've got huge limits. Guys betting, with accounts of hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars. And what I saw in that Michigan-Minnesota game at Chris, Dink, was interesting. Michigan at Chris went from the market high 13.5. Nobody was higher on that game at Chris than 13.5. Chris was always market high for the majority of the betting action, and then close to game time, they became the market low on Michigan, begging for Michigan money. They were as low as 10.
Why do you think they were the market high?
Wow.
They were the market. I don't know if that game was getting set up or exactly what was happening in that game where, they might have been betting the Wolverines falsely early in the week to come back on that big bet. And, there was a quarterback situation, too, with Minnesota. Leidner got the start late, so that might have been part of the action. One thing I know about Jerry Kill, and I follow Big Ten football closely, Kill's great in that spot. I thought he's got an outstanding running back. He eats clock. He thinks defense first.
I think it's time to talk hockey, John.
Well, let me finish my point about
No, that's a college football thing about last week.
Well, here's a point about Jerry Kill
that I want. Nobody listens to me.
They
never listen to me.
The point I want to make about Jerry Kill, very important, I think, especially if you're into halftime betting. As head coach of Minnesota, Jerry Kill is 20-0 when leading at the half, and he is 0-22 when trailing at the half.
Wow.
So when he nurses a lead at the break,
that's not against the spread. That's
straight up.
Okay.
But teams don't blow halftime leads, and I like the way that's set up. I thought was just perfect. And the Michigan program's in shambles right now.
Will you make this bet if there's a 3-point game? Will you make a maintenance bet in every Minnesota game?
No, everything's.
You're not even committed to that stat.
I don't like rules like that. Everything's case by case. But
wasn't that 42-0 or something?
Yeah. Yes. But
it's a pretty strong number to ignore it when it's a betting situation.
Yeah, but then the point spread comes in too. I mean, the point
right.
spread.
Well, let's say it's a low point spread, so you don't have.
I would lean that way initially. That's what I'd watch the first half. Yeah, I'm not going to make a blind bet, like a system bet. No.
Do you have any ideas to bet system bets?
Blindly? No.
You like revenge and a lot. I mean, but not blindly. But you have a lot of systems that you want to either bet that system or pass, right?
Yeah, you know what I like, Dink? I don't like revenge. I like rematches. I like to go to school on rematches. How did this team fare in the last meeting? Let's step aside and take a quick timeout right here. When we return,
not even a hockey talk.
We're getting the hockey.
Show's over. I got to go.
We'll get to hockey talk next. Bushay is here. He's going to preview the upcoming season for us. We'll ask him about sleeper teams in the National Hockey League. He has also circled a team that he likes to win it all, and we'll see if he can guess Dink's 3 long shots in the NHL this season. You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour.
There's no such thing as a sure thing, unless you're talking about Ion Gaming. Ion Gaming is a website dedicated to the hearts and minds of sports bettors everywhere. If you're looking for smart, sophisticated sports handicapping information and insight,
go to EOG.com.
If you're looking for the latest news on the ever-changing landscape of Nevada's race and sportsbook industry,
go to EOG.com.
If you're looking for the most recent developments involving the worldwide sports betting scene with an emphasis on the leading sports books in San Jose, Costa Rica,
go to EOG.com.
And finally, if you're looking to join an online community of sports gamblers where registration is free and the information is priceless,
go to EOG.com.
You get the idea. Why gamble on other sports betting websites when Ion Gaming is a sure thing?
And I love a sure thing.
Hi, this is Rick Alec, president of Sports Options. Sports Options is a sports information tool designed to give sports bettors of all types the necessary edge needed to improve their bottom line. With Sports Options, you'll never lay a bad number again. We provide you with live odds from the leading sports books in the world, from Costa Rica to Curacao, London to Las Vegas, and everywhere in between. Sports Options also provides the fastest and most accurate injury information, lightning-quick score updates, and game analysis from 30-year handicapping veteran Mark Simons. We offer affordable services for players of all levels, starting at just $99 per month. To see which service best fits your needs, you can take advantage of our 7-day free trial. No credit card is needed. Just go to www.sportsoptions.com and click on the free trial link. I'm confident you'll be impressed with our product, and you'll find it the most complete and comprehensive on the market. In fact, if you don't like Sports Options after 30 days, we'll refund you 100% of your subscription costs, no questions asked. Go to sportsoptions.com for all the details or call 702-835-1743, and one of our friendly customer service representatives will be happy to help you. Sports Options, information you can bet on.
And we are back, the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with you on a Tuesday night alongside Ellen Dinkenson, dedicated Detroit Red Wings fan. Bushay is our featured guest on tonight's program, and I must admit, Bushay, our mutual friend Rich Sox 24 put me up to it. He said, play the Blackhawks theme music for the Red Wings fan.
That dirty dog. I'll get him back. I'll get him back, John.
About the NHL,
we don't like those. We don't like those Blackhawks in our part of the country.
That is some kind of rivalry, is it not?
Yeah, well, since they moved to the East, it's kind of, I think it's going to lose some of its luster, but we'll always remember the Blackhawks. They're just a 6-hour drive, from Detroit.
I think they'd rather be in the East.
They'll always be a rival.
I think they'd rather be in the East than lose the rivalry right now.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you there.
Dink wants to cover the teams in the NHL this season, 30 teams in all, obviously. And Bushay, do you feel equipped to go back and forth trading notes with Dink in terms of the upcoming hockey season?
Sure. I've did a little homework here for the show.
Cool.
I've previewed some of the teams I think have a chance, and some sleepers, and who I think is gonna win the cup. It's a lot of things.
You shouldn't do that. You just shouldn't.
From now.
I wish you wouldn't pick who. You just get yourself into these arguments with people when you say Kings are going to win the cup again, and then they don't play well, or they get injured, or something bad happens, and you're kind of like stuck with your pick. Your pick actually means something, affects your betting when you don't want your pick to lose, and you make, and then you can change your mind, and then that pick will go down with an injury. So I never like to look at who I think will win the cup. Who's the best team on paper we could talk about? I think, unfortunately for you, it's Chicago. Do you?
Yeah, you can't count out Chicago. I don't have them maybe as high as ranked as it sounds like you might have. they're always going to be there. As long as they stay a cocky team, they'll continue to win. And as long as Scotty Bowman and his son are, affiliated with the team, I think they're going to be a solid program. They haven't lost. They didn't lose. Although they do have to make a move to get under the cap. But that team they picked up Brad Richards from New York, and I'm trying to think of who they lost. I really can't think this second who they lost. I don't think anybody huge, but they're coming back with pretty much the same team. And they're getting a little bit older. They've won 2 cups. They didn't make it last year. Maybe it's finally the time that the Blackhawks are going to take the pedal off the gas for a little bit. I could be wrong.
I still like their number 1 line a lot and their defensive top pairing. I'm okay with Crawford. I just think they're slightly better than the number 2 team in the West, who I think is the Kings. The Kings are just solid. The Kings have the best defense, and maybe in the history of hockey, every one of them is good. They have 6 or 7 they can bring out and just kill teams dead. And I always think defensemen are the most important part of a hockey team.
No argument there, Dink. Doherty's one of the best, and the reason Chicago is because of, let's face it, the 2 guys back on defense, Keith and Seabrook. I mean, you take those guys are on the ice on every important face-off, every important situation for those guys.
Yeah,
I love them. I mean, I'd want them on my team.
They underachieved in the shootout. And they're a better shootout team than what happened to them last year, an overtime team too. So I think that's an automatic improvement. And boy, this team improving in any area makes them probably the best team in hockey.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you, but my number 1 choice is the Kings again. I don't think going into the season, like you say, on paper, maybe not going to win the cup, but I think they didn't lose anybody. They're big. They're so big and they're so strong, and that 3rd and 4th line just wears those guys down eventually. I was thinking about it today. I was watching the playoffs last year, and St. Louis had a guy that I hadn't heard of named Cracknell. Big guy, and the guy kept, the announcer during the game I was watching kept bringing up this Cracknell's name. He was really having an impact on the ice. Well, the off-season, the Kings picked up Cracknell. So, I mean, they just keep reloading to me, And
they have a great coach. I don't know how he does it, but he gets them playing the best hockey in the playoffs every year. They flounder a little in the regular season. They haven't finished in the top 3, and they're never, and people I talk to who are King fans are, they're not as good as last year, and Quick stinks for 3 years ago. We need Bernier, and then Quick becomes the best playoff goalie in the history of hockey. It's just a very funny team that they know how to gel at the right time, and I guess he doesn't burn them out. I think the Blues burned themselves out last year. The Blackhawks kind of burnt themselves out. Then they had to play each other in that crazy first round. Yeah, I just think the Kings play so right. When you watch them against the Rangers, the puck would be in a certain spot, and everybody was moving in different places to make it as hard as possible for the Rangers to get a quality shot. I was really impressed by that.
You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly and Alan Dinkenson. We're joined by EOG contributor Bushay. We've covered 2 teams in the Western Conference already, the Blackhawks and the Kings. What about the Kings' crosstown rival, Dink, Anaheim? 116 points last season. They were tops in the Pacific Division of the Western Conference.
A little overachieving, I think. Now they've lost. We don't even have a clue who's going to be their goalie. There's 2 kids, and one of them will play, and one of them won't play, and maybe both will play good. I guess Anderson's the favorite to be the goalie. Yeah, Hiller got benched for the playoffs after playing most of the season. It's Getzlaf and Perry who are just studs on offense, but I don't know if they could ever repeat the way they play. Getzlaf might have been the best player in hockey last year, and 3 years ago he was just a mediocre shell of his former self. So you're not quite sure what you're going to get, but you're not going to get any better. And they have a good good top 2 defensemen, but after that they're a little thin, and they got Kessel to be a shutdown forward, but that messes up their depth because they traded away some good players to Vancouver. What do you think, Bush?
I agree with you. I'm not as high on Anaheim as I am with LA and the Sharks.
The Sharks every year.
But they're always,
year,
you know,
Anaheim's
got a strong management from top to bottom. You know, their owner, their GM, the coach.
I like the coach, but I was amazed with Solani. I don't know if one of the Hall of Famers of hockey said that he would have come back this year to play again at 45, whatever he is, if it wasn't for the coach. He hated
he hated that coach.
And that coach really made Anaheim one of the top teams in the West. And he just didn't like that he was being slighted, didn't get to play a lot of key situations and power plays. And that came out in the book. It's kind of, and Getzlaff said that Bushay. Wow, that's Solani actually was talking to him about that the whole season. He had a problem with the coach, so I thought that coach really revitalized that team when he took over the year before. Okay, what are my three sleepers? You know them. I know you know one. What are my three sleepers at 20-1 or more?
Okay, I just looked at the pinnacle lines and the futures of 21 or more. I'm going to give you 4 teams. You tell me how many I hit.
Okay.
Montreal, Detroit, Vancouver, Columbus.
One.
Just one?
Just one. And I don't know, is Montreal still over 20-1 at Pinnacle?
I just looked at it right about 20-1.
That's not bad. I could see that one. Detroit's the one, and you know why, because they were so unbelievably injured. But already, I bet that before they got 2 injuries to this season's team, maybe they're just a little old and injury prone. Datsuk again, and the rookie kid who was supposed to get a shot at the first line. I can't think of his name.
Which one is that?
He got injured. He's going to be out a while.
I got a shitload of them.
You can't say that.
Oh, sorry. They got a big pile of them.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me give you my opinion real quick on Detroit.
Okay.
Datsuk, Zetterberg, Sheehan, Helm, Eriksson, all played just a half a season last year.
Right.
Franz and Nyquist, they missed 25% of the season. Weiss missed the whole season. This goalie, they got a goalie that played yesterday, this Peter Marzik. Let me tell you something. He's going to be a star very, very soon, and don't be surprised if it's not this year. He's really tremendous. He's got 12 lifetime starts, 2 shutouts. If you look at his numbers, they're just phenomenal. And if Howard falters, he may start Miss Marzik in Grand Rapids, but let me tell you, he's just going to need a couple of opportunities for a cup of coffee this year. And I think this team is so young. He's young. They play well. I watched that game against Toronto last night. They just dominated Toronto, and Toronto had the strong lineup out there. Detroit was like their B lineup.
Don't forget, Toronto's strong lineup isn't all that strong.
That's true. There was no Kessel, but there were some decent people out there, Phaneuf and Lupul and.
I'm not a big fan of either. I'm really not a big fan of Phaneuf, and Lupul is a very good rotisserie player, but not always. He has no defensive responsibility in him. He's a mini Ovechkin, I think. Anyway, one of my other teams I thought you'd get for sure was Dallas. And Dallas is just crazy good in the forward department and pretty weak in defense. But, God, their 6 forwards would make any team's front line just about, except they have 6 of them.
Yeah, Dallas is another up-and-comer. I just think there's too much stronger teams in the West for them to get through there. I mean, Spets is going to help. Hemsky's going to help.
Seguin is great. They have a really good team. They have an unbelievable scoring team.
But are they going to be able to play? They're going to be able to play Dink with the Getzlaffs and the Perry.
Oh yeah, the front line on Dallas is excellent. And Getzlaff and Perry, and then you can't name the third player on that team. It's such a drop off.
Yeah,
Kessel is a defensive forward. He's not a. I mean, he plays a great role in being a defensive forward, but they don't even know who's going to be a third guy on that line, and that's shocking when you're your number one line and you have 2 unbelievable players and you're auditioning for the third. That usually takes like an adjustment that takes like 10%, 20% of the season till you figure out chemistry issues.
Who's your third? Who's your third long shot, Dink? You mentioned Detroit, Dallas.
Well, the third long shot is a 70-1 shot, and that's the Devils. For a while last year, I thought the Devils were one of the more elite teams in hockey. It was only for about 3 weeks, but they played great. They lost 13 shootout points out of 13. They didn't do. I think they were one game under in overtime too, so they could have been about 8 to 10 points better and made the playoffs last year for sure. They're well coached. They have a great solid defense. I think Schneider will be the goalie. They played Brodeur a lot out of respect, and now he's completely not on that team, and right now not on any team. So I'm bullish on the Devils.
You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with Alan Dinkenson, EOG contributor Bushay, our featured guest. We're previewing the upcoming NHL season. It gets underway a week from tomorrow night. And at EOG, we've got a hockey contest that we're featuring, and Bushay is not only going to organize it, administer it as well. I like what Bushay offers to the EOG gaming community, and Bushay, for a $100 investment, guys can get in. We're going to cap this just 40 contestants. They'll have a shot at a prize money of $5,000, 40 times 100, 4,000, and we'll have a sponsor put up $1,000, so we'll have 125% payback in this competition. It should be a lot of fun. Bushay, how will the contest work?
Well, it's going to be a season-long contest. I'm thinking 200 plays, although I'm gonna throw it back to the boys and see if they want 250 or 240. I don't know how much action these guys want to play, but sides and totals.
Is there a weekly cap, or could you wait and play all yours 200 plays the last few weeks?
In the playoff contest that we had season before last, we had I think it was a 5 play a day max. That way to kind of take it easy on the administrator, the guy scoring. But
who's that going to
be? You're talking to him.
I figure.
But I don't know. We're going to use a program that's going to enable us to use live lines. I've never used this program. The guys over at OGD, Peeps Place, are going to let us use it. And so everything should be pretty automated. It's just a matter of me listen to standings the next day. But we're going to cut it off at 40. We got 20 paid right now. I think we got about 10 more that are going to play. I think John said he's going to play. Teddy KGB, I'm sure he's going to be in. And a special announcement here. Let me take a minute here to talk about poster James D. James D. I think he's from San Diego, from California. I contacted him to see if he had any interest in playing, and he messaged me back saying not only was he interested, but he loved the idea and he'd like to sponsor 3 guys into the contest. So James D is going to put up $400, and I haven't decided how we're going to give away the 3 yet.
How about a girl? How about Caroline for the charity?
If Caroline would like to play, I think she's more than welcome. I don't see any reason why not.
She might get help by somebody sitting near John.
Now that would be fun. Very good. So, and we could read between the lines there with her selections. Of course, Dink, here's the problem. If she's going bad, they're her plays. If she's going good, they're probably your plays.
No, they'll be her plays.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, she's got a lot of pride. I think if she has time, she's really busy with some things that she's doing for research for economic stuff. So I don't know if she's going to have time to think about hockey. But I think that might be fun, and it might put a little bit of motor on my butt to play in the pool. I really don't like them because you lose 3 games and then somebody's yelling at you on the forum and stuff, and you just got to kind of ignore it. But I'd be much more motivated for the charity than for myself.
I know one thing, Dink. If this contest were 2 years ago, you would have won going away.
That's why you should pay me anyway.
What's the contest? The purse breakdown, Bushay. Is it heavily weighted to the front end?
John, I don't know if we settled on that just yet. We still got a week to work out some of the You're
the commissioner. Just make the rules. Don't listen to everybody, because no matter what rule you make, there's going to be somebody who likes the other rule.
Yeah.
And if you use that guy's rule, then there's going to be somebody who wishes you never used that rule.
Yeah.
Well, let me put my 2 cents in.
I'm finding that out.
Yeah, if I
Here
may,
comes another one here.
If I may.
I just want to be fair. I just want to be,
Nothing. It's not
diplomatic about
unfair. You're not giving anybody an advantage by the rules. So just make the rules.
Yeah, and I don't like a lot of payouts. Not too many. Let's see. I want to word this right. The Democratic, small d, Democratic payouts. I don't want 8, 10 payouts with a 40 million competition. I think if you pay the top 3, Bushay.
Give fourth his money back, just like in the baseball. Now you have an extra wild card, so somebody will be at least. There might be some interest because it might be blown away, but it might be getting a fourth interest or something.
I like the idea of paying the winner. I'm not saying winner take all, but make sure that first place prize is sizable.
Yeah, well, the $100 for the fourth place prize isn't going to be significant.
Sure, it'd be worth your time getting your $100 back.
Yeah, and it'll be something to keep you in. A lot of people are going to drop out.
I think Poster Try posted a 60-30-10 payout. I can't remember. I have to go back in the thread and see. And everybody, a couple guys chimed in that that was okay with them. So. And
you know what I like about that? Try has a lot of contest experience. So he speaks.
Yes.
He speaks as a guy who knows what he's doing. I like that 60-30.
He's a good guy. Yeah.
He really is.
I wish he'd post more.
Yeah.
I've been playing in hockey contests with Try for about 3 or 4, maybe 5 years over at another site, and he's always right at the top. Always.
Who are some other sharp guys, Bushay, that you know as hockey experts?
Vegas Vic. Vic is my buddy. Known Vic for a long time. He's very sharp. He's a guy like me. He only does hockey. I kind of quit following all the other sports and just concentrated on hockey about 5 years ago, and I think I'm a little better for it. And Vic's the same kind of guy. He thinks, drinks, and eats hockey. God, I wish I had the list in front of me right now. But Rich Sox is a good capper. I'd like to get Winky Duck in here. I think I sent him an invite. I don't think he's got back to me. Of course, Noogie Nerd, Noogie, however you pronounce that name.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff. I was telling Teddy asked me about Nuge one time. I think if Nuge concentrated on just hockey, he'd be as good as Vic and Vegas Vic and some of these other guys, because he knows the business well. He knows the markets, I think.
The problem with hockey is it's a heartbreak game. There's just so many tough beats in this game. It's not like basketball, where the only problem with basketball is your team does not have any idea of trying to win your bet because you're laying 7 and they're doing everything they can to foul them gap to 9 at the end of the game. So I guess every game has different ways to look. But hockey's become such a 3-2 game, and the lines makers adjusted well, and they really lowered the prices on favorites.
You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with Alan Dinkenson. Bushay, our featured contributor. Bushay, what do you know about hockey that most people don't? What have been your discoveries from a gambling perspective over the last 3 or 4 years?
It's a terribly tough question.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that, John.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question that's everybody? Yeah, here's something I don't know. There's a big talk this year about analytics. How much do you look at analytics? Corsi, Fenwick, close Corsi, Fenwick. Those are the new darling stats. But now there's become a lot more stats. I just bought a book called The Hockey Abstract. It's a lot like the Bill James Baseball Abstract. It has some things that you can think about that I don't affect it as a gambling game, I think, but do affect it as a hockey discussion about the importance of some things. Do you go past the Corsi and Fenwick?
No, not yet. Not yet. I'm late to this analytic analysis.
It's pretty new. You're not that late. Last year was the first year I think the numbers were available. And the site that the numbers were available, called Extra Skater, is now down. They're done because the guy who made Extra Skater now has a prominent position as like a strategy coach in Toronto and for the Maple Leafs. So they grabbed that guy right away. His numbers were tremendous. His insight was great.
And to put that in basketball perspective, I was thinking of that, John Kelly. I think it's almost the equivalent of like taking the Ken Palm site down, and then you having to scramble to where you're going to get your information from. That's the site I used, Extra Skater, and there's a couple more that popped up. One called War on Ice. I'm sure you're familiar. Mm-hmm. I've been checking out that one, but that extraskater.com was a real user friendly. I like that site a lot, and now I'm going to have to regroup.
Somebody will come up with it, and it'll get posted somewhere. That the best site available. It did have really Colorado defied all the analytics, and every bet you could see was the analytic users were playing against Colorado, and they kept winning and winning and winning. And finally, they bet against them in the first round of the Stanley Cup, and they succumbed to an inferior team.
That's the voice of Alan Dinkenson. Yes, I'm John Kelly. You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour.
There's Lawrence right there.
Boucher's our featured guest. We got Dink's 3 sleeper teams. He told us Detroit, Dallas, New Jersey. Captured them all at big prices, long shot prices to win it all.
And Boucher's take on Montreal is good, too. I think they have a shot.
Your sleeper teams, Boucher, outside of Montreal.
Well, Montreal is one outside of Montreal. Let me give you a quick reason for Montreal. I think Montreal took a big step last season. They got that monkey of beating Boston in the playoffs off their backs. I think their management is stable now, more so than it was, in the last decade. They're a proud team. They're gaining momentum. They got the best fans in hockey. I like what they're doing. They're a team on the move, I think, and they're going to be tough in the playoffs. They got a hell of a goalie in Price, and Subban is coming into his own. I like the energy in all those lines. They're playing old Montreal hockey again, is what I'm seeing. At least what I saw in the playoffs last year, and I don't see why it's not going to, any reason why it won't continue.
Other sleeper teams.
Yeah, okay, Detroit, and I gave you my reasons already. The only thing about Detroit is they're going to start another season with 2 brand new assistant coaches to work with Babcock. And they got off to a slow start last year with the 2 coaches. The 2 coaches, one of them went on to coach Carolina, and the other one, I can't remember where he went, but he got a prominent position somewhere. But they're doing it again. So watch Detroit getting off to a slow start, but those guys are so young and so fast and so energetic. It's like Colorado a few years ago before their guys blossomed. That's how I'm seeing it. And there's more in the pipeline coming up. The game I watched last night had no big stars in it, and like I say, it was just Toronto, but they dominated that game and they looked good. And I'm a homer. I'm from Detroit. I'm always going to like them and be positive about them. But I think they got a good shot. Another year under Babcock. He's never won Coach of the Year. Okay, I think this would be a good time for it. I think they can compete, and I think they can compete till the end if they're healthy, if they stay healthy.
And that's a condition, Dink.
You want one more?
Yes, sure. One more slip.
Colorado, like them a lot. They got a good coach there who Dink was just talking about the
analytics.
The Avalanche analytics, they were bad. Why do you think that is, Dink? I think it's old school Patrick Waugh's got a little something to do with that.
I think they were very fortunate. They won a lot of games late. They have some big time scorers that have the ability to defy analytics and put the puck in the net. But I think their defense is weak, and I think they're not a sleeper. I mean, they did finish first in the West.
They're not going to
they can't sleep that much. They can't improve their standing in the West. They were first. They can improve their playoff stuff, but I think they're going to slip down to like 5 or 6 in the West. Maybe be a total bust too if they get some key players injured.
And what's your thoughts on Minnesota?
They could improve. They have a nice, well-rounded team with a coach. They're like a little bit better than average in everything they do. Except for goalie, we don't know who will come up there and play. If it's Brizgalov, I think they're in a lot of trouble. But if Kumper can play good, I think they might be okay. You can't count on goalies. Like you said, you don't even know who's going to be the number 1 goalie after 2 months in Detroit. There are a lot of teams in that situation.
Boucher, your team to win it all.
The LA Kings. Yeah, the LA Kings. I love the Kings. I think they play hockey the right way. Their analytic numbers are always up in the top with Chicago and Boston. They're the team to beat. They're big, they're strong, they're smart. They've won before. They got a good coach. They got good management. They got good fans. When Wayne Gretzky got traded there, how many years ago? That was the greatest thing that ever happened to hockey in that town. And they're carrying on the tradition.
I think I think the team that's the favorite to win has got to be Boston because of the path they take. They're probably the best team in the East more than you can say the Kings are the best team in the West, and then they don't have to beat the same competition that the Kings do to get through the West.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
But we saw them falter pretty badly against Montreal, where they actually started, holding the stick too hard and choking up a lot of. They weren't doing what they did all season. Once they went down 2-1, I think they just really bit the bullet there and try to change things and be a much more conservative team. And the one thing about hockey is you have to be confident and go for it. Otherwise, you have no shot to win.
Yep.
Sure. Bushay, thanks for joining us on tonight's program. A job well done. Now, can we recruit you one more week? Can we get you back next Tuesday night to make one final call for the EOG hockey contest, Bushay's NHL contest featuring a 125%?
Yeah, you should get 40 people. It's a
I'll get
contest
them.
with a lot of equity.
Get them.
I'll push it to.
There's doubts in the thread. I won't get 40. I'll get them.
You'll get them.
And if I fall 3 or 4 short, I'm not going to worry about it.
Nah, we're going to get 40.
We'll get 40 indeed. And I want to thank James D., too. Thank Bushay for organizing the event, but what a generous offer by James D. Those are the kind of guys we're looking for at Ion Gaming, James D. types. And if you read his content, too, he's not only generous, smart as well. And a lot of times that goes hand in hand.
Are you in the contest, John?
I'm in the contest, yes.
Cool.
Yeah. In fact...
dead money, Bushay, dead money.
You really know how to hurt it.
Take your skate runners off before you join the competition, John. The rubber on the bottom of the skates.
Something tells me I'm going to get checked into the boards violently at some point.
It would be embarrassing if somebody who never knows anything about hockey was going to win these things. But it's not that impossible.
I may be copying Caroline's plays. Will the plays be shown, Bushay, or are they hidden?
They should be hidden till games.
Like I said, I wasn't in that contest over at Peeps, but I believe... they were easy to view. Yeah.
You mean before the game you get to see other people's plays?
I'm not 100% sure, but I thought you could. I could be wrong. Some of these other guys in the forum can answer that, I'm sure.
As you can tell, the contest still in the works, but we'll have it finalized in a week's time for sure. But it's a work in progress, and Bushay's putting it together for us. We'll have all the details at EOG.com. Check out the main form there. A 40-man competition or 40-person competition featuring a 125% payback. Again, Bushay, thanks for the time. We'll talk to you next Tuesday night.
See you then, John, and thanks for the invite.
Good job, Bushay.
And good talking to you too, Dink.
Thank you very much.
I told you he was a smart guy.
Nah, you lied. You told me he's an idiot. I said, he's a nice guy. You said, no, he's not.
Want to say hello to Ramon Scott Sport. He tells me that to give a shout out to Sports Options. The Sports Options office plays off to an 8-0 start in the NFL season. They also had the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night. So an outstanding job by the Sports Options crew.
Does he work for them?
I don't know his motivation, but he's checking in from Lakeside, California.
So that's their home, I think.
Their home is on West Tropicana. In fact, we're going to try to recruit Rick Alec to the program next week on the show. Are you a Don Best subscriber?
I am.
Didn't cross over to Sports Options?
No, sir.
Okay, very well. That'll wrap up our program for
another Who You Know thing. I get a pretty good deal there.
For Alan Dinkenson, for Bushay, I'm John Kelly. Dink, did you bet anything for tomorrow? Anything you like in the bases?
I did not.
How about the football coming up?
You got an hour? I can give you my stuff.
You gave us 10 plays last week, 10 leads. I think they were 6-4. You had the Chiefs plus 4.5. You grabbed a good number on the Chiefs Monday night.
I'm intelligent.
That'll wrap up our show for Alan.
I'm lucky sometimes.
For Alan Dinkenson. For Bushay, I'm John Kelly. Thanks for listening to the EOG Sports Hour. Tomorrow night, Shawnee Mack and Paulie Mack as we preview the upcoming pro and college football cards. You're listening to the EOG Sports Hour.